Hey, Selena. Nice to see you.
It's good to see you. My body's super activated right now.
Mhm.
And I'm kind of mad at Logan and I'm not, but I didn't want to talk about what I'm going to be talking about. And it's just so obvious that I'm supposed to, or that I have to, or whatever. And so I'm just going to talk about it.
Take your time.
I hate that too. Like I remember when I was a youngin' in church. I went to a really small church and there was like 20 or 30 of us. So when the pastor was like speaking on something that you were specifically struggling about, it'd be like, "Well, why you pinpointing me right now?" Like it always felt super personal, like why are you preaching directly to me? Or about me? Like, and today in the meeting, it's just like all of the things were like swirling around the one topic that I was like, I could share about this, but I don't really want to. Um so Logan talking about maybe wanting some kind of acknowledgement or some kind of being seen for this or it meaning something or um, all of that. I think just going into the like straight real talk, being as honest as I can, I was really, really hopeful that I would get this so that I could teach this, um, and that it would be something for me. And with really sweet intentions, really good intentions almost throughout all of it. So like I'm a really sensitive person, who doesn't really crave leadership so much as just like connection, um, and acknowledgement and appreciation and stuff like that. So like I've had the thought of like, well, I wouldn't abuse any kind of power. I wouldn't be abusive with any kind of leadership role or any kind of, and then I go into meetings and people tell me like, hey, what you shared really resonated, or like you talk about this so well, you speak about it so eloquently, things like that, and that makes me feel good because I don't get acknowledgement for those things elsewhere or in a lot of other circles or avenues, and so like I feel really appreciated in non-dual circles. um and that sensitivity is like a double-edged sword where like some days, like when Ramat was sharing, like my heart is so deeply tied sometimes when people are talking that I feel like the whole world can come in and crush me because of how sensitive I am. But on the flip side, I feel like my heart is so big that it could just swallow up the whole world.
Beautiful.
Um, and yeah, I do find that beautiful and really touching. And so there's the part of me that's always been like, well, this is special. Like maybe I'm meant to share this. Maybe I'm meant to be someone who helps other people or things like that. But the last couple of days, getting really, really honest with myself and with God and just asking like, please put it on my heart why I can't feel close to you, why there are times I still go through these fluctuations and it doesn't. And it was put on my heart pretty heavy that like you can't get something out of this to then get something in the future. And you know when like someone's kind of sly and like maybe they're able to do something to you even 8 or 9 times, but the 10th time you really see the intention behind it. And you're like, you can go from like creating excuses for them all of the time to in a flip second being like, nope, no more.
Nice. Yeah.
Absolutely not. Can't see it. Like can't unsee it rather. that's how I feel about me in this teaching thing. And it really just happened like about 48 hours ago, where it's just like, yeah, there's still a desire, but I will never teach. And like, that's funny because like nothing's absolute. I don't really have the decision for that to happen, but like, I've made that agreement inside right now that like, I'm giving that up entirely because I would so much rather be nobody and feel close to life and feel the things that I'm desiring here than to have a following and feel like just because a million people are telling me I'm right, that then that means I'm right.
Beautiful.
Because I think that's what I'm craving. I think what it really comes down to is I have so much self-doubt and insecurity that if I had a community that was looking up to me, then that would mean I'm right.
Mm.
And I could feel good in that, solid in that. I could stand in that, feel rooted in that. But every time I get a really nice insight, it can stay for a little while before my mind starts turning it into, okay, how are we going to share this? And then it's gone. And I had a agreement with myself, with life for years now that I would not share about this in any kind of leadership way until I was so fucking clear. Like I had to be clear or it would not be shared about. And now I see one, I'm so grateful that integrity was in me. And I'm not saying the other is wrong. I'm just saying from my journey, I'm really grateful that it played out that way. And then two, it's almost like I don't know, I appreciate life hitting the brakes. Every time I thought, okay, it's here and I can do this, it's like it was being ripped away so that I could maybe learn this at some point. Um, I think one of the craziest parts about this for me is that like the second it was like seen the way I described, where like you just see what the real intention is. So it's like, oh, not again. That's not going to happen again. Like it just can't, like you, because you see it clearly. Um, when that happened, so much of the intellectualizing went away.
Nice.
I do know this. You know, you really can't know anything, but like I'm very rooted in this and comfortable in this. And um, like I don't want to say find center because like it's all just a story, but like because I can see that it's all just a story, when I now that I see like I don't have to share this with anyone, it doesn't have to make sense to anyone. It's all an inside thing going on here. Like I it's just stopped certain narratives that were happening all of the time.
Oh, totally. That makes complete sense.
They were happening all of the time.
Yeah.
Because I was glimpsing this stuff and seeing it for what it was and seeing very clearly that it can't be talked about. But I really wanted it to mean something for me. And like, I worked really, really hard at this. So why can't I, why can't I wear it like a badge or show people? But then, like, when you go back into it and you get really, really clear with yourself, it's like, no, I didn't do any of this. I didn't do any of this. It wasn't me. So it makes me sad. I've had to do a lot of like inner child holding uh with this. because it's kind of a non-negotiable for me right now. That could change, but like for me, it's just kind of recognizing like, yeah, the want is still there to share in that way, and it's not going to happen. And I can kind of hold the young part of me that really like wanted to be special. I think the part of me that really wanted to be an entertainer or actor or singer of some kind, it just really like switched to spirituality when I realized that wasn't going to happen for me, the other stuff. Um, so now it's gonna have to be letting the teacher role go because like I don't. I'm so into non-duality's YouTube algorithm that like the amount of people that pop up every single day that are talking about this now, it's also just so aware to me of like no one needs what I have to say about this. And it's not that I'm trying to censor myself by saying that. It's just one of those things where it's really obvious that like, oh, Selena's not going to teach, the humanity is going to fall apart. Like no, that's not going to happen. Like it's no one needed me to do anything. And all of the shit I had in my head about like maybe I'll really help people, blah 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 blah. Like it was for me. It was for me. I
Yeah.
wanted it to be for me. I wanted to feel special. I wanted to feel like people liked me.
Yeah. It's so gorgeous. I'll put this on YouTube. I'm just kidding. But no, it's gorgeously said, so honest, so truthful. When you do see the deeper intention of something where it's like it does feel off, you can't deny that it feels off
Yeah.
now, and it wasn't obvious to you before, uh, then you can't go forward with it in the same way, which is such a gift. It really, really is, because that's not what you truly, truly want. I know that this is not wantable, but the collapse of the wanting is actually what's wanted. So it
Yeah, and
makes
I'm sorry.
yeah, you go first.
Oh, just ADHD moment of interrupting. I do it a lot. I just it
ADHD isn't really never
Yeah, you're
mind.
right.
Because I'm exactly the same way, so don't worry about it.
Um, yes, to it's not wantable, and I know what you mean by that, but also everything I've wanted has been turned over for this.
Yeah, totally.
Like I really want it more than anything else. I
I know.
really do. To the point where I've even got the character on board. The character really wants this. And that was one of the last really big desires that I can think of, was wanting to be really clear on this so that I could share about it in a meaningful way. And even if that meant not getting a big following online and not being able to monetize it or something like that, it would feel good. It would make me feel like I had a purpose or that I was helping one or two people or something like that. And it wouldn't have been for the one or two people. It would have been for me.
Um, yeah, everything you're saying is really gorgeous. Yes, maybe it would have been for you, and yes, it maybe would have been for the other as well. It's really
Yeah.
hard to distinguish
Yeah.
definitively. Um, but in a way, because I know that you want this more than anything, yes, I think it's valid to let go of that idea of a teacher because it's not real, it's not freedom, it's not true. It's Now I see that as delusion, it's ridiculous. Um, it is absolutely not freedom because, and like you said about how the thoughts, like the narratives about all of these things died because the internal has died. The want to be a teacher has died or is dying. That is the freedom. That is the clarity. And maybe you'll speak from a different place later on. But from a place of not, it doesn't matter, teacher or not, like it's just irrelevant. And that's a much freer way of expressing if it wants to happen later on or not, which isn't up to you or anyone else. It's not important. It doesn't matter. You might help people because you are beautiful at expressing things. Does it truly matter if it happens? No. And it is better for your internal peace to let that die and to know that you're not responsible for helping others, for changing people's lives, um, to be a part of this thing called non-duality. Let that all burn. It's not worth it. It's not worth the internal struggle.
One big identity sticking point for me has been also like I'm very anti-capitalism. I would constantly make jokes that like I came out of the womb anti-capitalist, that I just like really just don't understand modern society, and it's just like such a deeply ingrained part of me. So like I think, a part of me was just the part of me that wants to be an artist and live a fringe lifestyle and kind of be a little bit on the outside of that type of living. Like this seemed like a really good way to be able to maybe do that and to escape the 9 to 5 living and because I've the entire time I have been on this journey, I've worked full time. And it's insulting to call it exhausting. That's how exhausting it is. And so it's not just, oh man, I really want freedom because I'm miserable, but also I can't get out of this miserable situation unless I'm free and can share it with others. See how crazy and tangled up that gets? Of just That's just a self-perpetuating loop that's not doing anything.
Beautiful. And it's very rare that someone would actually say it how it is. But let me tell you honestly how it is here. I've been through everything you just described of there was a beauty to helping the one or two people because that was what was real at the time when I started sharing. And but things change and things die, and the need to help others also died. It went to absolute zero, where this wasn't getting anything out of it anymore. So there was a flip flopping of like, should I even continue because I'm not getting anything? And actually, there's a lot of burden that comes from being public out there and how honest this body is. I do get a lot of backlash and it's going against all of society. And I'm saying how insane everything is, and it's not easy to say it, but I can't help but not say it. So it's actually been great because it burned up a lot, but it's been a huge source of pain in this life as well, like um I don't know why this body continues. I think there was a period where I said because I wasn't getting anything and it was more pain, it was very subtle, it was very neutral, but there was more pain received in a way, more discomfort because there was already peace here, and it just felt like extra unnecessary. So then I started to do it just because I needed to sustain myself. And then that kind of subtle whatever that is, it kind of also ran out. And it made it feel like I could totally get a different job. This is no different than another job. There's a certain degree of niceness to this because this body likes expressing in this way and it's allowed to be itself. And I there's a subtle enjoyment in giving other people permission to do that. And but other than that, like really there's no difference between another job. Um, I know that there are differences in that you'll be surrounded by people, most probably in any other work environment. But there's no fear of that in a way. It's like, yeah, it's not super preferred, but it's like I could see how it would be fine as well. The body adjusts. Um,
But that was a part of the issue here too, is that, I'm working my everyday job and I'm a chat agent. I do sales. I'm on the phone talking to people, doing my stuff, and then believing that there's some kind of reality, other reality I can get to. And that's just not true. That's just not, there is no future where I'm a teacher and everything's settled. And like, I can see that that's just more of the same mental stuff. And so, yeah, I think it's kind of what you were saying before of just like, yeah, maybe it'll appear differently in the future, but right now, like, yeah, letting it die completely, the idea of it, because it's just this illusionary thing in the future that I'm not getting to, and that it was just another thing I thought would make me happy.
yeah. And generally speaking, I can understand why. Um, to be totally honest, there's just no escape from the system that is set up right now. The fact that we have to make money in order to survive, that in itself will always be there, unless you're a millionaire and satisfied with that and whatever. But um, that too kind of allowed for a death in here because there is no escape.
It's just crazy that I like that was really about all it took, and now I'm in this spot, and it could change, but I'm just in this spot of like I really don't have to understand it. I really don't. I really don't, because it's crazy to see how much of the wanting to understand it wasn't for my awakening. It wasn't, I really thought I want to understand it so badly because I want to be free. But so much of it was tied up into, if I don't understand it, then others don't know I have it. Others don't know I've got this figured out, that I got it all locked down, that it's all like, and I wouldn't be able to talk about this right now with clarity if there wasn't a very deep burning inside of me to see, what's really going on here and wanting to get down to the very bottom, whatever you want to call it. But this one just took me completely by surprise. I didn't realize it was something that I needed to let go, and it was kind of just one of those times where it was like when I really 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 am at the like bottom of the line, I need help and I ask for help. I've almost always received it. And this time when I really really needed it and cried out, the help that I received was like, you got to let this shit go. Like it's just not you've got to let it go. And being so tied to this journey and wanting it to happen for me, like it doesn't matter how much I still wanted it in that moment. It's like I heard it. I knew exactly what needed to be done. So it was like oh, okay, this desire is still here. I guess it's got to go. Like it was just an immediate like that's fine. I'll let it go. Like I will, I'll deal with it. And then I guess I don't know, the last thing I want to share about it is there is still the slight belief that wanting truth above all else is better than all of the other junk. And that's just a concept and a story. But there is that like slight pat on the back going on of like, hey, you did it. You saw through one of your blocks and now you're gonna like, that type of thing where it's just like still the belief that like truth is better than not truth or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, but it's gonna feel like that up until the very, very end. I don't think that I think that's normal because
Yeah.
there is something that's driving until that driving dissolves, you know? So as long as that is there enough to see, like, yeah, what is in the way of internal peace? Like, what is causing all of this turmoil internally? There will be a deeper desire for clarity and truth. And I deeply want to see clearly. I over all else because I've done this thing a million times in my head of trying to work out how I'm going to be a teacher. And it really does create all of this internal turmoil. I've seen it enough. And now it's really clear to me that there is something deep in here that perhaps wants that even equally as the truth, um, or some flavor of that. And then there is kind of like a, internal choice of like, no, I want internal peace. That's not internal peace. That will create more external chaos if that is chosen over this.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's all fine what you described. That too will diminish in time. It will just be like a more and more of a process that like takes control of itself, really. Because the more clarity there is, the more like, holy shit, this is beautiful. This is in a way the answer until it's seen that you can't say it in that way anymore.
It's so funny that I wanted to be a teacher so bad in the first place because like I will see videos that you put up and know I'm in them and then see 20,000 people have seen them and then I freak the fuck out. And I'm just like, what the 20,000 people? And like, because I'm sharing stuff that's very vulnerable for me. And like, I am quite shy and introverted and I don't talk about any of this stuff to anyone. So then putting it out into the world for thousands and thousands of people to judge, which they do, I've seen it. It's very hard for me. And I'm embarrassed about the stuff that I'm talking about today. That's why my body was so activated when I started talking. But I don't um have a choice. I really don't.
Exactly.
It just feels like it's where it's going. So, and I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe it's because I have a fear of being seen that desire was there of like, oh, the opposite of fear would be feeling very comfortable being seen. But it doesn't really matter where it was coming from because now it's just seen that it was a huge block. It was a huge block in my system. Uh,
Nice.
so yeah, I feel like that was all over the place, but that's what it was.
No, that's beautiful. That's very well said. Yeah, there's going to be all of these temptations, Um, and that's why there are so many teachers out there who are just people. And uh, it's fine, but it's also gross. And yeah, I say that all lightly. Like it really doesn't matter, but it's still gross to me
Yeah, I kind of
because Yeah, because there is a claiming that they're clear, but it's so misleading because they just haven't gone through this. So then if they become big, then you create a lot of suffering, which again is fine. It's like what everyone else is doing. They're whoever you follow and whoever you admire in that way um, creates a lot of suffering. But teachers especially because they are claiming that they have gotten somewhere. But anyways, I just feel like what I do a lot of the time is um undoing a lot of the mess that spiritual teachers just have said, you know? Like it's just like
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense. You're
Yes.
you're believing someone who's a person. And of course, like they don't know. They don't have clarity yet.
And when you stay into like one of the things that's been really, really clear for me for a long time is how words, and Logan was touching on this too, words don't mean anything. And what that means is just like the word strawberry is never, ever going to be what a strawberry is. It's just a thought, it's just a representation, a symbol of this thing that's here. When you see that really clearly, and I've seen that clearly for a while, and then you get in your head, you want to be a teacher and you want to speak truth, there's no way to talk about this and be honest. There is no way to do it. And so that's what I've been wrestling with for a long while. It's not that I wasn't seeing truth or whatever you want to call it. It's that I could see that the teaching of this is inherently flawed.
Nice. Beautiful. Exactly. So
Um,
how can anyone call themselves a teacher?
yeah.
It's just ridiculous. It's like get off your high horse. You also don't know anything. Or at least say things as if you don't know anything. Like there is a certain degree of you've been through this, so there are certain things that you can say, but to not preface it with like I also am a little teeny tiny ant just like you, period, and then take my words from there.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be here without constantly hearing the messages that you've pointed back to. So I appreciate your pointing very much because I it was a couple of months back where I was uh thinking about some of your teachings and it made me realize that I don't think I've ever heard you say that you know anything ever, like about anything. And I
I'm sure
love
that
how much wisdom can come through when someone is still claiming like, yeah, I don't know anything.
nice, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure I appreciate that, but I'm sure that back then there were periods where there was the sort of authoritativeness, even if I didn't say directly, I didn't know. I'm sure that that was in there in some of my earlier videos, off and on, because I was still emptying out. Um, but yeah, my intention was never to dominate others or bring others outside of themselves. Like that is the most gross thing that you could do to take someone else's trust in themselves because that's already happening. And to just play into that is really gross to me. Um, I have no idea why I just said that, but yeah, I don't consider anything like teachings, you know? It's like whatever comes out of this mouth has just come out of this mouth. If it's helpful, great. If it's not, I can understand.
I think I'm getting to, I mean, and it's been happening the last few months, but I feel like I'm just getting to the place where things get to be quite a bit more simple.
Yeah. And this is a huge thing for you to kind of realize that that's been there in this way and that it's kind of falling apart now.
Now,
But I kind of want to reassure you that in a bit, like it'll be the best thing that has ever happened. To thoroughly let this go, you'll see things so much clearer. Things will just make sense to you in ways that is not possible if that want is still there.
yeah, because I don't need them to. Thank you.
Yeah, so gorgeous, Selena.
Thank
Yeah, there's something I want to touch on with the sort of seeing the internal agendas more clearly. And I say all those words really, I don't, they don't have much meaning. So I don't see agendas as a bad thing. Yeah, it's just all of these wants and desires that are like so understandable. But when it's impossible to see it clearly until it just is, it's just too obvious. But it takes so much unraveling to just see like, holy shit, that's here and I can't play into it anymore. But that moment is just so it's devastating in a way, but it's so beautiful because that's the choicelessness of this. That's like, holy fuck, I see it way too clearly. There is no way that I can keep doing what I was doing. But you also see the innocence in what you were doing as well, because like there was no clarity. Yeah. And that's when there's like a real burning inside because it has no choice but to die now, you know? But yeah, whatever this thing is, it's like it's so unbelievable. It's so beautiful. It has its own rhythm or so the more that diminishes and the more the body is depleted of all of these wants, the clearer it gets, you know, like the mind isn't interested at all in all of these things it was preoccupied with before. And so you could really feel just the body, which is, an empty word. So whatever this is, I don't really know. But wow, that's like unbelievable. Yeah, and it's not as intense after a while. It's not really about you anymore. It's just really clearing out the body more and more. And there is such a pointedness to it now because one, you have no choice. And two, it's like it really is like wow, but in the most neutral way because you're not getting anything. You no longer want or need anything in that way, meaning you're not being defined as much by whatever's going on. But yeah, I guess yeah, sometimes I hesitate to say stories like that because there isn't clarity until later on. Like only in hindsight can you really see things a lot more clearly. Um, and it just takes time, apparent time. Yeah, and that's where there is this undeniable whatever the body is going through right now is exactly what it needs to be going through. However it feels right now is exactly how it needs to feel. There's no problem with it. It makes total sense. I have no idea if any of that makes sense, but hey, sweet peas, thanks so much for being here. And Yeah. Nice to see you, Claire. Sorry I couldn't get to you. Yeah. All right.
It's
Thanks so
okay.
much, everyone. Yeah. It's good to see you, though.
You too.
Okay. Have a nice Sunday, everyone. Bye.